Hey guys, welcome to episode 9 of Operation PlayStation. I'm your host Dash. This week we've got a lot of news to cover, including Horizon Forbidden West DLC, Forspoken being delayed until October, Ghost of Tsushima dev updates, Sly Cooper website sparking reboot rumors, and also the state of play that just happened this morning. And, you know, we'll gauge some thoughts out of that because I can tell you something, it was something. It was something, definitely. I did have a live reactions of the state of play. You can check out right now on dashgamer.com. Got to sit down with a bunch of lovely folk on Twitch this morning and react to the show. So you can head over there right now and check that out, including other pieces in housekeeping. Our Horizon Forbidden West review. I wrote Zero Dawn on the doc, but it's the Forbidden West review. Thanks to kind folk over at PlayStation Australia who provided the review code. Is now live up on the website, along with our Grant Turismo 7 first impressions, WWE 2K22 first impressions. Thanks to the kind folk over at 2KNZ, and also an upcoming title that's embargoed, I can't say, will be up on the website very soon. So make sure that you keep an eye out. Very excited to be covering this one. I'm a big fan of the franchise, so it's definitely going to be interesting as I gaze to my phone as I'm getting breaking news about the Sly Cooper thing. Yep. Okay, all right, cool. I can't say what that is, but I will talk about it. Anyway, guys, we won't waste any time today. I will say that the news this week is a bit light in some sort, but we do have a solid show to break down, so let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into the news. The first bit of news comes by way of Sammy Barker over at Push Square, who says, PlayStation suspends all operations in Russia, including PlayStation Store. Sony pledges $2 million donation to support victims. We won't get too political in this. Obviously, I'm going to quickly go through this. It's pretty self-explanatory, all the events that are happening right now in the Ukraine. So, I'll read the story and we'll quickly get through this because, like I said, it's pretty much self-explanatory. So, PlayStation has suspended all ongoing operations in Russia following the country's invasion of Ukraine. In a statement posted on social media, the gaming giant stated that it, quote, joins the global community calling for peace in the Ukraine, end quote. This follows similar announcements from a number of other juggernaut corporations, including Coca-Cola and McDonald's. Fans noticed last week that Gran Turismo 7, the latest blockbuster title to be published by PlayStation, had been quietly removed from sale in Russia. The manufacturer acknowledged this, stating that sales of the simulation racer have been suspended, as have all, quote, software and hardware shipments and, quote, operations of the PlayStation Store. Like I said, it's very much self-explanatory. It also goes on to say that PlayStation have donated $2 million towards United Nations to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees and Save the Children to, quote, support the victims of this tragedy. Like I said, it's pretty self-explanatory. I tend to leave politics out of the show and pretty much will say the same thing. It's a shame what's happening in the Ukraine. If you can support, donate to your charity of choice to help what is happening over in the Ukraine. I would highly suggest it because it's not something that I believe we should be even like. We're past this. We are past this as a race. As a human race, as humanity ourselves, we are past war. Like that is archaic. It's something that shouldn't be happening in modern age. But the fact that it is bullshit. But I'm going to continue on with more news. This one comes by way of Zamena Khan over at PlayStation Lifestyle, who says, report, God of War TV series in the works at Amazon. A new report by Deadline claims that Amazon's Prime Video team is in talks with Sony Pictures Television and PlayStation Productions to make a God of War live-action television series. The Expanse creators and executive producers Mark Fergus and Hawk Ostby, and the Wheel of Time executive producer and showrunner Rafe Judkins have all been reportedly tasked with the project. Sony has confirmed the God of War TV series. Sony Pictures and Amazon Studios have both declined to comment at the moment. The companies will presumably finalize the deal before making an official announcement. Nevertheless, Deadline's reports hardly ever wrong, so we're pretty sure something's in the works. Sony has been aggressively expanding its franchise into television and film arenas, and there are plenty of shoppers willing to nab its IPs. HBO is gearing up to air Naughty Dog's hit The Last of Us, and Peacock has inked a deal for Anthony Mackie-led Twisted Metal comedy series. On the film side, the Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg starred Uncharted has been a smash success for Sony Pictures. The film took no time breaking even and surpassing its budget, and despite middling critic reviews, response from the audience has been overwhelmingly positive. And the film was great. Right now, a lot of the IPs that are getting shopped around and being bought into, getting adaptations on the silver screen and a small screen, whatever it may be, right now gone gangbusters. And I hope that The Last of Us kind of lives up to it. God of War is going to be one that's interesting for sure, because we've got something to the tone of it in The Witcher that's already being produced by Netflix, and that's gone gangbusters and made The Witcher now something more than just a video game adaptation. It's now a global sensation in the show itself. I've even got when you've got 60-year-old parents now watching The Witcher and not knowing that it was a video game prior, and you telling them, hey, this is The Witcher, it was a video game, and they're like, oh really, it's a good series. That says something. So the fact that God of War might become that as well, that's great. The story of Kratos, if it's the adaptation of the God of War that kind of revisits his past lightly, but is a retelling of the 2018 game, and then kind of mixes in what we might experience in Ragnarok, then I'm all for it. I think that's going to be a very interesting story to follow, as well as a TV adaptation. But first, I'd love to play the game. So hopefully we hear some news on the game soon. Let's head into the next story. This one comes by way of Sammy Barker over at Push Square, who says Sony pulling the plug on PS3 after sales support in Japan. It's hardly earth-shattering news, but the PlayStation 3 is old, like really old. Yeah, it is. The console launched all the way back in 2006. So it's perhaps no surprise Sony is pulling the plug on support for the system and its peripherals, in Japan at least. Writing on its official Twitter account, the organization, quote, sincerely apologized to gamers and still using the device, but explained that it simply doesn't have the required inventory of parts to provide a comprehensive after-sales service anymore. Quote, after-sales service will be discontinued on Saturday 30th of April 2022 for the PS3 and PS3 peripherals due to the exhaustion of parts inventory, the statement explained. Quote, customers who wish to have their after-sales service for the relevant models should apply for after-sales service through the online repair reception service or PlayStation customer support by Saturday, April 30th, 2022. That's pretty much where they're calling it. So, yeah, I mean, there's a bit of time, but still, this is long overdue anyway. Of course, it goes on. Of course, Sony no longer sells a PS3, so none of this would come as a surprise. We reckon over 15 years of support is pretty decent for the platform overall, and it has committed to keeping the console's PS Store online for the foreseeable future. Yeah, so look, here's the thing. Like, the PS3 now is, like, long gone. We're now 2 generations ahead. The fact that it still had peripherals on the shelf for this long. I mean, I remember I was still selling DualShock 3s while I was working at JB up until maybe, like, 4 years ago. So the fact that, like, it still had a shelf life for that long. And I remember when we sold our very, very last PS3 in stock, it was the Assassin's Creed bundle, the super slim Assassin's Creed bundle. I sold it for $70, and that person I think they got a steal, honestly, because the PS3 was a great console. Yeah, it had a shit start. It had a really shit start, no doubt. But it was a great console. It had some awesome games, and it still has awesome games that if you haven't played, I would highly recommend. Uncharted, Infamous, the Sly Cooper game that came out on it was awesome. There were so many games on PS3 that if you haven't played and experienced, I would highly recommend you check out. But yeah, I mean, look, it's time. If a PS3 dies, it dies now. You know, those things can get sorted by third parties now. With the conductor shortage and everything else, that's understandable now because they've got to kind of turn their attention now to PS4 owners and PS5 owners, especially the PS4 owners who still own like the OG day ones and can't get their hands on a PS5 at the moment. They'd be pissed. The fact that we're still suffering shortages of PlayStation 5 consoles and it's now we're heading into its second year, that is bad. So hopefully something changes there. People can start actually getting their hands on PS5s. I remember when the PS4 was like that too at launch. It took at least 6 months before these shortages cooled down and people were able to get their hands on a console. But the fact that we're entering year 2, plus feeling the effects of a pandemic and a chip shortage, it's really, really bad at the moment. So fingers crossed Sony can fix that up real soon because it really does reflect on them. It's not good public relations, and it's not good for shareholders and stakeholders that are basically asking questions afterwards, like what the hell's going on and why are people still waiting for their consoles? So the next one comes from Callum Baines over at Tech Radar, who says Sony is shipping console prototypes overseas. Is this the PS5 Pro? Man, would this be premature. But anyway, he goes on. A collection of recent international shipments records has sparked speculation over the development of the PS5 Pro. As spotted by Tweaktown Import Records, shows Sony Interactive Entertainment, the branch of Sony that handles PlayStation, has shipped thousands of boxes of development kits to the US over the past few months. Most shipments have originated in Japan and Korea. Other listings show Sony exported a shipment labeled, quote, video game console prototype from the UK to the US last November. The mention of the console prototype has many fans excited that these shipments contain early models of Sony's next hardware platform that would presumably be the PS5 Pro or PS5 Slim, which Sony's expected to release sometime in the current console generation. I mean, it pretty much, we're already at our second revision of the PS5, second retail revision of the PS5 now. So, with the fan modifications and all that stuff that they've done, I don't know whether it would be a Pro. It could possibly be a Slim, but I would put my money on this is dev kits for the PSVR 2. So it goes on. Tweaktown also noted that the shipment of prototype consoles is marked with an HS code of 981700, which is sometimes used in global export systems to designate shipments containing parts for video game related products. Yeah. So look, I don't think it's a Pro or a Slim. Like I said, if I put my money on it, it's going to be the PSVR 2. At least dev kits for it. The reason I say that is because once again, it's premature for them to even consider releasing a PS5 Pro when people still aren't getting their hands on a PS5, and the fact that they're suffering from chip shortages and they can't manufacture the base console themselves. This is where we're at. How can they bring out a Pro without even considering the fact that they're running short on base consoles? So I think it's easy to assume it, but I think it's also kind of premature to even presume that we're going to be getting a PS5 Pro within the next year. If it is the case that it is a PS5 Pro, I think it's also immature on PlayStation's part to be doing it, because they could wait a little longer before bringing out something like this. Not for the sake of, sales and all. That is another discussion. I'm talking more on the hardware aspect of everything, technical specs. They could wait and improve it even more, like even further. Because sending out development kits of a PS5 Pro now is pretty, like, what could they do now that's going to improve anything with what they're doing right now on a base PS5? Not much. So yeah, for me personally, I look at it and I go, that has to be the PSVR 2. It's a guess. It's only a guess, but that's what I'm kind of gauging. So we'll see what happens anyway. I'm guessing if anything's going to be announced, it'll be announced probably a year from now. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, the next one comes from Joe Screbbles over at IGN, who says, Forspoken delayed by almost 5 months. Delay will help the dev team to, quote, focus all efforts on polishing the game. He says, developer Luminous Productions has delayed open world action RPG Forspoken from May 25th to October 11th. That is a big delay. I could see it coming though. The game wasn't greatly polished. But in a statement on Twitter, the dev team said the delay would let them, quote, focus all efforts on polishing the game. The game had only received its original release date in December of last year. So there is a full statement on the Forspoken Twitter account, which says, we have made a decision to move the release date of Forspoken to October 11, 2022. Our vision for this exciting new IP is to deliver a game, world, and hero that gamers across the globe will want to experience for years to come. So getting it right is extremely important to us. To that end, during the next few months, we will focus all our efforts on polishing the game and can't wait for you to experience Frey's journey this fall. The PS5, it goes on the article, the PS5 and PC game was announced in 2020 and has been relatively quiet ever since. In a hands-off preview last year, we said that the game, which is being created primarily by Final Fantasy 15 developers, has a, quote, off-kilter take on the JRPG formula and, quote, looks more like an open-world RPG in the vein of an Assassin's Creed and The Witcher than anything I've previously seen from Square Enix. Okay, so today in the State of Play, we saw another preview of it. It looks okay. Again, it's one of those things where I'm worried about it because from early footage that we saw, like trailers that we saw beforehand and everything else, it was fine. It wasn't anything extraordinary. They talk about polish. The early footage was not polished. It was something. It looked like a PlayStation 3 game. And it was very concerning. I personally was like, this does not look ready. So I'm glad to hear that they've decided, you know what, we can do better. We'll push it back to October. The problem is, most of the time when this happens, it always comes out looking the same. So I'm hoping that with the 5 months that they have now on top, before it goes gold, they can really do something to make it look crisp. Because you have the pre-rendered models, post-rendered models, and the post-rendered models look like clay compared to the close-ups. I don't like when that happens when I'm gaming. It takes me out of the scenario. It's immersion breaking. So I'm hoping that they can fix that with this, because that was definitely one of their issues. Whether or not it actually happens remains to be seen. This is a really bad quality trailer that I'm showing, because it must have been ripped directly off the stream. And I'll tell you what, the stream was not doing it justice today. That's for sure. But yeah, look, Forspoken, I can't wait. I think it's going to be excellent regardless. I know that it's really walking on eggshells at the moment. Like, you can't lie about it. It is really walking on eggshells based on just the fact that now it's delayed, some of the response it's gotten in the past as well. Look, I don't know, but personally, for me to hear that it's a mix between Assassin's Creed and an open world RPG, I like the idea. As a JRPG fan myself, I like the idea, but unless it is polished, like their intent. I'm worried. I am worried because it ends up kind of getting cornered with the likes of a Scalebound, something that looks excellent but doesn't come out that great. But we'll see. I have faith. I have faith in Square Enix. So we'll definitely. I mean, look. Let's be honest. There were a lot of doubters out there that doubted Guardians of the Galaxy, and that turned out to be one of the best games of the previous year. Like, I remember when the trailers were coming out, everybody was like, "Man, this looks like poo." And then what happened? One of the best games last year. Guardians of the Galaxy. How many Game of the Year nominations it got? It got a Game of the Year nomination from me because I tell you what, it was excellent. So, you know, you can't always judge a book by its cover, but we'll see, I guess. The next one comes from Sammy Barker over at Push Square, who says GTA 5, PS5 will steal a chunk of your SSD storage space. So there is more talk about SSD storage that's happening. We all know that the greatest game on the PlayStation 5 so far is managing your storage space, and it's true. It's certainly one we've spent the most time playing. Grand Theft Auto 5 will be cheaper than expected when it launches on the new gen consoles next week. Will steal a great chunk of your SSD's capacity, with file size weighing in at, wait for it, 86.837 gigabytes. Wow. Like, jeez. Anyway, so goes on. This is the preload size for both the single player and GTA Online mode, which is actually a lot smaller than the PS4 version. That weighs in at well over 135 gigabyte these days. So it's another example of PS5's compression helping to bring overall file sizes down. Of course, GTA Online is an absolutely gigantic package these days, spanning tons of vehicles, weapons, and activities. If you need to expand your PS5 storage, there's plenty of SSDs out there. So, look, I haven't expanded mine. I personally play that game of once I'm done, I delete so I can move on to the next thing. But that also plays in part of being a reviewer. When you're continuously receiving codes for games, you have to recycle. Like, basically say, okay, I'm done reviewing that game. It has to go now so I can make room for this one. No matter like if you want to continue playing it, you're gonna have to turn around and be like, no, that has to be sacrificed to fit this one for review. If I ever want to play it again, I can, you know, veto some stuff and also get other games on to my PlayStation 5. So that's pretty much it. It's one of those things right now where, yeah, I can understand the concerns of some people and their 800 and whatever it is gig PlayStation 5 really compressed down to 600 gig playing GTA 5. It really is a matter that if you really want to keep your games on there, then I would probably suggest just expanding your storage, because that's pretty much the only choice you're going to have. And for the fact that you can't buy expansion SSDs or even just expansion hard drives and play your PS5 games on them, it's just one of those things where you're going to have to sacrifice some of the budget. I mean, it's so expensive in Australia to buy an SSD for your PS5. We're talking like $500, $600, $700 for like just a few measly 100 gig. It's not cheap. It is not cheap. But yeah, anyway. So the next one comes by way of Callum Baines over at Tech Radar, who says, Ghost of Tsushima dev updates Sly Cooper website sparking reboot rumors. Now, that was what I was talking about before, the messages that were coming through on my phone. So I was discussing this just prior to the show with on Twitter. He's known as Special Nick now, I believe. Nick Baker from the Xbox era. I was having a chat with him about what could possibly be on or coming forth in terms of these rumors. So it goes on. A recent update to the SlyCooper.com website domain by Ghost of Tsushima developer Sucker Punch Productions has fueled rumors of a revival of the classic platformer series. As spotted on Reddit, the official Sly Cooper website domain was updated on March 4, which some eager fans have taken to suggest a new announcement for the series is imminent. The domain name, the domain remains registered to series creator Sucker Punch, further prompting some players to believe the studio is behind a potential revival of the series. Neither Sucker Punch nor series publisher Sony have officially revealed any plans to reboot or remaster the Sly Cooper series, but this is a first suggestion that some kind of update may be in the works behind the scenes. There was a tweet put out by Nick about 18 hours ago on Twitter. He says, okay, so my source has given me the green light, but we're still not 100% certain. But it's believed that Pixel Opus, as many of you have guessed, possibly in collaboration with Sony Animation, are the ones working on Sly. I also believe Sony Animation is on the cartoon project. Now, there were a couple more things that we did discuss, which I will bring up here. So I asked him, was there any more follow-up on it? And he goes pretty much what I tweeted out, but also that it could be in collaboration with a game as well. So we could be seeing that the studio are working basically on key art for both a game and an animation. Whether or not this is true or not, it's one of those things where we begin to speculate stuff. And I don't know, man. The Sly Cooper is really a surprising IP for Sony to actually invest any time on right now. You think about it, you really think about it, and whether Sucker Punch really kind of wants to even, like, Sony own the IP there, and then you got Sucker Punch who are like, well, we're kind of working on Ghost. Do we really want to kind of put any attention to this? So it's like one of those things where now they're going to have to assign an animation studio and also a development studio, because I don't think that Sucker Punch are even going to be touching it. And the same goes with Infamous. So there was a little hint as well during the week that Infamous may be part of this revival, but I don't think Sucker Punch is even going to be touching it. So it's one of those things where you just go, because like we've been talking about even stuff like Silent Hill for a long time, and whether or not Kojima was actually going to reboot it, or whether we're going to see a reboot finally of it, and nothing's come of it. So, but then again, this is a property that Sony owns directly. This is not something that Sony can, corroborate with Konami and try and purchase the IP. So, I don't know. It really kind of makes me feel like Sly Cooper was great, but it's not something that was like grandiose or big, major that Sony really needs to invest in unless they really want to build another IP beside Ratchet and Clank. This is the thing. They've already got Ratchet and Clank that's kind of working for them. Why wouldn't they invest time in that? So for me, I don't know. Very weird. Very, very weird for them to be doing that at the moment. Let's jump into some Horizon news. This one comes by way of Sean Murray over at The Gamer, who says, Horizon Forbidden West seems likely to see DLC expansions. Horizon Forbidden West is probably going to get some DLC in the near future. This isn't too surprising given how Horizon Zero Dawn eventually received its Frozen Wild expansion, but it is surprising how we're finding out about likely DLC coming to Forbidden West. A new video from the VSC rating board, the UK governing body that determines age ratings for video games, among other things, mentions that Horizon Forbidden West has an in-game storefront that can be used to purchase DLC expansions. Those who actually own the game know that there's no such storefront exists, so this statement sounds awfully peculiar. Head on over to the full PEGI rating over at Push Square, and you'll find mention of the DLC expansions yet again. Quote, this game offers players the opportunity to connect their storefront where they can purchase subsequent DLC expansions, which some parent or carers may want to be aware of. Parent, carers, or other responsible adults should check to see what is being offered before making any purchase on behalf of the child. It should be noted that the game can still be played without the need to purchase such items. The ratings read. Well, yeah, I mean, look, this comes naturally. Frozen Wilds was like a given the fact that Horizon was that popular. They were ready to do that. I mean, why wouldn't they do the same thing here? So I think it's an expectancy now that we are actually getting Horizon Forbidden West DLC here. Like this is not surprising. So yeah, that's cool. I do like that. I do like the fact that they're still working on the game. I think if anything, they're going to be working on this for a little bit. That brings me to this connecting article. This time comes by way over at Push Square from Stephen Talby over at Push Square, who says, Horizon Forbidden West update 1.07 is available now, and here are the patch notes. I'm not going to read them all, but it does. I will address some things that I experienced that have been fixed during my review segment coming up in a couple of minutes here. But basically, the patch notes that have come out have fixed a fair few issues, including like some dialogue that was repetitive as you were like just trudging through some of the fields of Aloy. She'd always say, "I better check my my backpack, or I better check my stash, or I better check this and that." And I'm like, man, Aloy, you can talk a lot, especially when you're running this much. So I don't know. There was a lot of dialogue there that I kind of was like, yeah, I don't need to hear this over and over again. So yeah, I'm glad that they kind of fixed that. Also, the shimmering, that was a problem. There was also a few side quest issues where it wouldn't load properly. So I mean, yeah, there wasn't anything game breaking, which is great. And once again, I'll discuss more of that. But the patch fixes little things, little things, which is great. But I think that I mentioned this in my full review, which you can catch now on dashgamer.com. I wish that they could have patched in some more charger sites. I think it needed it because there was a lack of them. And when you're running around as Aloy, there's not many you encounter, and you need them. Like, you need them. So yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, okay, but I would personally rather they just have more options to override. If you're not going to have a charger, I would love to override something else to ride. They did that. I won't say much. They did that, but it's not, like, it doesn't come until later in the game. So yeah, kind of shit out of luck in options there. So so let's talk a little bit about the state of play that was today. This wrap up comes by way of Jason Faulkner over at PlayStation Lifestyle, who says, everything you missed at State of Play March 2022. PlayStation March 2022's State of Play was subdued, but not uneventful. There was a smattering of announcements concerning Japanese titles, and we even got to see 2 new Square Enix games announced. While there was nothing earth-shattering, the titles on display were diverse enough that everyone should have found something to love. So I wrote an article recently on Dash Gamer that stated, if you have nothing or nothing big to connect to your small games on a direct, a showcase, or a state of play, save it. Please save it. And if it can't make it out in time, try not to overhype anything here, because state of play should be saved for the big stuff. There should be a reason why you're putting on a presentation. Not to discount anything that was there today, but it's just a case of if there is not one AAA game to show off, other than Ghostwire Tokyo, which has kind of been in developmental hell for the last 3 years or so, then I'm sorry, but you need to bring your A game. You need to bring something that will take you home. Because if you don't start on a big and end on a big, it's just going to be pretty much flat line going right through. But let's talk a little bit about what we saw. So Exoprimal tricks everyone into thinking there's a new Dino Crisis. I said, oh shit, Dino Crisis, because I saw Capcom, and then you say dinosaurs, and you think, Dino Crisis? No, not Dino Crisis. It's a new IP. And it looks like it's going to be a co-op multiplayer, so... Okay, then we got a Ghostwire Tokyo trailer. It's coming out soon. Looks fine. Did the whole hand movement thing again and all that kind of stuff. I mean, Okay, I guess. Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin demo lets you carry over progress. I would definitely recommend you guys download that today. It's available now. Forspoken gets a new trailer showing more diverse color palette. We've already discussed all of Forspoken, and the trailer today looked good, so I'll give them that. Gundam Evolution trailer gives an interesting peek at the game. Loved the anime as a kid. This looked like Gundam Lego. Like, I have to say that the detail in this is non-existent. It really did look like I was playing a Gundam Minecraft game. If like, it looks like somebody's playing a Gundam Minecraft game. So, not interested. Honestly, not interested. TMT, the Cowabunga collection brings classic titles to modern consoles, which is going to be awesome. Yeah, I want this. I want this. Even has the Game Boy game on it, which is awesome. Doesn't have the NES game, but it has the Game Boy game on it, and it has everything else. So I am ready for it. I definitely want to play it. Gigabash brings multiplayer Monster Mayhem to PS4 and PS5 soon. So this one was the multiplayer game changes 4 players to whoop each other using 10 different kaiju. It definitely has some big rampage energy going on, and couch co-op is a focus, which is rare these days. I can't really remember much of it. That really says something. Really says something when you can't really remember much of the game. But look, okay. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R remaster is looking good. I definitely want this one. I love JoJo, and I think this will be awesome to play again. I haven't played it for a while, so this will definitely be cool to pick up again. Trexie Yomi was definitely like a Ghost of Tsushima, but compartmentalized into like a side scroller in a way. Big Ghost of Tsushima vibes from it. I'd be interested to check it out. Not something that I would be diving deep into. Returnal Ascension 3.0 update brings campaign co-op and Tower of Housekeeping. Yeah, I'm not looking to return to Returnal. Personally, I think that I've done my time with Returnal. It's what it is. It's not anything that's... I don't think that's going to bring anybody back to Returnal, honestly, unless they're still playing it or, wanting to really just dive back into it for a reason. But that, I don't think, is a major sell. So, but that's just personal opinion. The Dio Field Chronicle, I thought, honestly, was an Octopath Traveler game, and then they kind of showed more, and I was like, oh, all right, well, it's still not something that I play. It's tactical, it's cool, not something I'd play. So Valkyrie Elysium looked a lot like a how do I put it, cross between Final Fantasy and a Nier game. It looks good. Not polished though. So we'll definitely see. It's like an open world hack and slash title, but it doesn't ring quality, is what I want to say. Like in a Nier game, you really feel it, like from the environment to the music and everything else to the characters. There's quality. This had some weird modeling with halos around them and everything else, and I was like, what the hell is this? So for me, I question it. I don't know whether or not this is a game for me personally. We'll see. I mean, I'm a big sucker for the weeb games. You guys know that, but it's just one of those things where I question it right now. I'll have to wait and see. So, but that was pretty much the state of play. Wasn't anything special today. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, I got up early for it too. Oh man. But look, here is the deal. Once again, I'm going to say it. If you don't have anything, it can be an email, it can be a presser, it can be a tweet, it can be a YouTube post. Do that. I think that'll be more appealing to people when you just do random drops. Doing it like this as a state of play, hyping yourself up for something big and only to let fans down, you have to remember that the reception around that is going to always be a case that people will remember, because then later down the line, when you have more state of plays to announce, people ain't going to show up to watch it. It's just the fact. And the same goes for Nintendo and Xbox. If you haven't got a big starter and a big finish, it flatlines. All right, guys, thanks to the kind folk over at PlayStation Australia. I got to sit down and check out Gran Turismo 7 early before its release last week and put my first impressions up on dashgamer.com. You can check that out right now. Let me begin by saying that this is the most polished Gran Turismo game I've played ever. GT Sport was not that great. I'm just going to throw it out there. It's what it is. Call a spade a spade. GT Sport sucked. This is as close to competition that Forza is going to get in terms of racing simulators. The real racing simulator, you know? That's what GT has always coined themselves as. This is as close as Forza, as competition to Forza as it's going to get. At least right now, until maybe further developments happen and, you know, Polyphony turn around and say, okay, well, you know what? We can capitalize on what we did here with GT7 and improve big time. But I got to say that it's honestly, in terms of its polish, the game looks spectacular. It's probably the most photorealistic game that Gran Turismo has ever outputted. That's not to say that it doesn't have its fair share of issues still. The game runs smooth. The game is fine, but I'm talking more along the lines of just general aesthetical qualms that I have with it, more or less. I think that's probably the best way to explain it. If I'm going to graze a car, I expect my car to be damaged. I'll put it that way. A lack of detail in that regard, there's a problem, and it kind of takes you out of the immersion of the game. It's a racing game, though. Like, there's not really much to go by. You know, you jump in, you race some laps and everything else, and you're done. So, the features that I got to play around with at the beginning were the music race. I can't remember exactly what it's called now, the beat race or something like that. And it played some classical music remixed with a beat. And the beats would go click, 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 click. And every beat that would count down, I'd have to get to a checkpoint, kind of like a Daytona race. But it's faster than like 1 second. We're talking like 60 beats at like a fast pace, a really, really fast pace. I found that to be a lot of fun. It was something different. It wasn't something that you necessarily see in racing games or even expect to see something in a Gran Turismo. But it was there and it was good. So, you know, I raced that. I found that to be a lot of fun. And, you know, I'll probably jump back in and play some more of that. Then I jumped into the main campaign of the game. And oh boy, was this something interesting. So the main campaign starts with a 20-minute... No, I'm joking. I'm embellishing here. But it does start with a very long intro. I'm talking at least 5 minutes, unskippable. They have to patch that. Seriously, you cannot have gamers sit there for 5 minutes watching that intro. It is exhausting. It is very exhausting to watch that intro all the way through. You're basically forcing your gamers to sit there and watch that intro. And just as you think that it's going to finish, the music ramps up again. That is that is just so disheartening for somebody who's sitting there with a controller in their hand. They'll get up, they'll walk off, and if they get disinterested when they come back, they'll turn the console off. They need to get rid of that. That needs to be patched. So, and you know, because gamers they get they lose interest very quick. So you gotta be, you know, faster. You know, you gotta be fast on their heels here to keep them interested. Now, other than that, the features that are actually in the campaign are pretty cool. I will say that it kind of caught me off guard that we were going to a cafe of all places to talk to a car enthusiast. But then again, I mean, like, you know, everybody's a car enthusiast these days and they got their own stories. And that's cool. That's fine. But I don't want to be sitting there listening to some codger tell me about his old Thunderbird. I'm not interested. You know, oh, hey, did you know I owned a Gemini in 1980? Whatever, mate. I'm not interested. Let me race. So for me, it was like, all right, whatever. Here is your cars. Give me the money so I can go purchase another car. There's a little bit of that, and that concerns me as well because, you know, you play Forza, you race, you get your money, you go back to your garage, you get cash, you buy this and that. It's done. It's strictly racing. The dialogue is minimal. And that's kind of like what I expected here. There'd be minimal dialogue, but there is a lot. There's a lot of dialogue to go through here just at the beginning. So, I don't know. They really need to kind of think about that for GTA, at least. Um, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just right now there's a lot of hey, like you're seeing it on screen for those who are watching the video right now. There's a lot of this that happens in between races. I'm not interested in this. Like, this is like going to visit a cafe and talk to this Lucas guy about his cars, about his memories of his cars. I'm not like I like my racing games, but I'm not that much of an enthusiast. I'm not a car enthusiast that I need to hear about the history of a Honda or something, Honda Civic. So yeah, I don't know. There's parts of it that just elaborate a little too much for me to be interested, but there are also parts of it that I can enjoy. Mostly the racing, and the racing is very realistic. I got to say that it's the most smooth that I've experienced in terms of Gran Turismo. Does it even touch Forza though? Like, if, you have to play that comparison game because Forza is the king right now, and like this is as close as it's going to get for a polished racing game on the competing platform. And when I say competing, I'm talking PlayStation. Because right now, like I've always said it, Forza is king. But Gran Turismo is pretty damn close right now. And I got to say that my first impressions off the bat, very good. Very, very good. If you're looking for a racing title on PlayStation, GT7's got you covered. It's very, very good. I'll have a full review written up on Dash Gamer in a couple of weeks' time, but as of right now, I'm enjoying my time with Gran Turismo 7. It's really good. So thanks to the kind folk over at PlayStation Australia who provided the review code. I'll have more on dashgamer.com. PlayStation. All right, guys, thanks to the kind folk over at PlayStation Australia. Once again, I got to review Horizon Forbidden West. Now, last Operation PlayStation, I came in with my first impressions of the title. I've completed the campaign. I've played a few side quests. So here are my thoughts on the title. It is honestly a marvel. This game runs smooth as butter. I experienced a bug here and there. There are some texture popping problems, but I'm guessing that the patch that they just released might fix that. I'm not completely sure, but I can only hope that that has been addressed. Now, the story itself, in comparison to Zero Dawn, I believe that you really need to play Zero Dawn to understand Forbidden West. There's a lot of people out there that are like, should I play Forbidden West? Oh, sorry, can I play Forbidden West without playing Zero Dawn? It's harsh for me to say this, but it's the truth. No. You need to play Zero Dawn to really understand the impact of Forbidden West. Without the knowledge of Aloy's upbringing, you really won't understand Forbidden West that much. You really won't understand why or what is happening and what her, conviction is, what her journey means. You really, really need to understand the entire crux of her journey. I can definitely say that Forbidden West capitalizes on everything that Zero Dawn did fantastically, and really has done itself justice in terms of what in terms of fluidity in its gameplay. Some of the unique features that they brought over from Zero Dawn, including like when you slide down a mountain, dodging and weaving through the legs of a big mech monster and everything else, and then like the slow-mo you get when you pull back on your bow and arrow. Those kind of features there were always like you live that moment when you play that. You really do. You feel it because it's like cinematic, like especially when you're controlling the camera while doing it, but you feel it, you live it, and it's sensational. Then you have the I don't know what they call it in the game. Basically the hook, basically to latch onto stuff. And then you can pull on objects to basically reveal, for example, if you go into an underground lobby, like you've seen in Zero Dawn, for those who know, and you need to unveil a secret path. Just there, right there, she's just doing it. She was throwing her hook at something right there. But anyway, for those who are watching the video, of course. So when she throws it, it latches onto like a vent, and she can pull it off and go through the vent, which is really cool. But she can also use it to leap up onto tall cliff sides as well when she needs to. Instead of having to climb an entire cliffside, sometimes they'll have they'll have um, hooks for her to latch onto and then leap up. And then while you're pressing B to zip up, you mash A, and she does this huge leap in the air. And sometimes that'll be the case during a boss battle as well, where there are these tall poles that have that at the top, and you can latch onto them, and she zips up. You press circle, and she leaps up like 7 feet in the air. You hold down on L2, and then you hold down on R2, like hold down on L2 to aim, and it goes into like this slow-mo. Then you hold down on R2, and you really do feel the retention on the trigger as she's pulling back. And then you ping it. And when you hit that mark, it's so gratifying. Like it is one of the most gratifying feelings of, just hitting a bow and arrow in a game. It really does feel like, you're there. And I love it. I really do. Additional weaponry is also here as well, just as it was in Zero Dawn. Crafting acid arrows, fire arrows, snow bombs, all these kind of things. It really does. It really does bring a lot of Zero Dawn over. So there are like minor things that are new. The major stuff, I would say that it comes later in the game. I can't really spoil. I don't want to spoil it. I want to keep this as spoiler free as possible because I really do want people to play it. Grapple hook. Thank you. The grapple hook is what I'm talking about, by the way. And it's very useful. You'll definitely use that a lot as you play. So, once again, later on in the game, there are a few things that come up that you'll definitely use. I don't want to say because there are certain plot points that expose it. I will say, how do I put this without spoiling it too much? Firearms are a thing. I think they were a thing in Zero Dawn, but I'm not sure. I'm not completely sure, but they do become more of a thing here to help you battle with more of the mechs in the surrounding area. Then you have, the real big thing, the real big difference is obviously using the grapple hook in this, because I think that really kind of helps you a lot in this game. But then you're also discovering the Forbidden West. A completely new open world within Horizon that honestly is just as beautiful as it was in Zero Dawn. And, interacting with new characters. You also have some of the old favorites come back, like Aaron and Val. But yeah, look, honestly, this is one of them. It's hard to really kind of go into it without spoiling anything, because the game really is. It's one of those games where you have to play Zero Dawn to understand this story, or else you go into it and you've spoiled a lot of Zero Dawn too. So, in terms of story, fantastic. That's all I'm going to say about story right now. There was one part. Oh man, I would really love to talk about it, but I can't. I'd love to do a spoiler cast on this game because Zero Dawn, is still one of my favorites of all time, and this kind of answered a lot of questions for me personally in terms of Zero Dawn, which is great for fans that love Zero Dawn, because this story will answer so many questions, like for people that played Zero Dawn and wondered. I can't even say some of this stuff because it's so spoilerific. Anyway, the point is that it's an amazing game. Definitely Game of the Year contender. I have been playing Elden Ring, and I don't want to say too much because I'm obviously reviewing both titles, and right now I'm reviewing Horizon with you guys on podcast here. And there's a lot of talk right now and a tussle between Elden Ring and Horizon and which is better. I am not going to address that right now. I need to finish Elden Ring to know. But personally, if I were to sit here and you put Elden Ring and Horizon in front of me and say you need to pick one, I'm picking Horizon, man. And the reason I say that is because it's a lot more fun. I will say Elden Ring is a lot of fun, but I don't like dying every 5 seconds in a game. Horizon is a incredible open world adventure. It's one of a kind right now. It really is. It is a fluid. It is a fluid. Hypersensitive to its nature, like in terms of everything that you see. Its beauty is just overwhelming in times, but it's charming. I can't put it any other way. There is an overwhelming sense every time you walk into a new area because you look around and you're like, holy shit, this game is freaking gorgeous. What the hell? Why is it so lifelike? Why is it so real? But it is, and it's so good. I gave it a 10 on Dash Gamer. If you want to read the full review, I have it up. I think that this game, honestly, is my pick right now for Game of the Year. And we're only in March. So there's a lot of year to go. But I'm telling you now, this is a heavy contender for Game of the Year. It is so good. So good. Anyway, guys, make sure you pick up your copy of Horizon Forbidden West if you haven't. It's available right now on PS5 and PS4. For those that have the PS4, it runs almost identically to how it does on PS5. So make sure you pick up your copy today. Thank you once again to PlayStation Australia, who provided the review code for this title and this review. All right, guys, time for the drop, and we got a few out for the next couple of weeks. So let's have a look. WWE 2K22. We have a preview up right now on Dash Gamer, thanks to the kind folk over at 2K who provided us early access to the title. 2K22 is out as of recording this tomorrow, but today. So make sure you go pick up your copy. It's out on PS4 and PS5. Phantom Breaker Omnia out on PS4 March 15th. GTA 5 out on PS5 March 15th. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax on PS4 March 17th. Who pressed mute on Uncle Marcus on PS4 and PS5 March 18th. Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin on PS4 and PS5 March 18th. Lumo The Master Mode Chronicles on PS4 March 24th. A Memoir Blue on PS4 and PS5 March 24th. Ghostwire Tokyo on PS5 March 25th. And Tiny Tina's Wonderland, on PS4 and PS5 March 25th. That is the drop for this week, for the next 2 weeks of games that'll be coming out. WWE 2K22 is amazing as well for for wrestling fans out there that love the 2K series and the SmackDown series and all that kind of stuff. It really kind of brings it back to form. I know I didn't schedule a first impressions this week because I really haven't gotten into much of the game. I've only gotten into a couple of hours, but it is that's live on the website if you want to see what I've played so far. And so far, they've really polished the game. Like 2K20 was an abysmal, it was a train wreck. It was abysmal. 2K22 have addressed all that, and I was playing it and. On Twitch, and even some of the people that were watching me play go, wow, this is amazing. No chug, no lag, no clips, no glitches, nothing. This is the total opposite of what 2K20 was. So I gotta say that they've done an amazing job. It really does feel a lot more polished. You got a small ring size to the proportion of a wrestler in the ring as well, so it feels human. So big ups to 2K on polishing up 2K22 upon its release. So I'll definitely have more to say about it in our review in the next couple of weeks. So make sure you keep an eye out on Dash Gamer. Guys, that is it for this week on Operation PlayStation. If you didn't know, this has been Operation PlayStation, DashGamer.com's dedicated PlayStation podcast, where we dive deep and dirty and discover the latest and greatest PlayStation have to offer, including next-gen gaming. If you like what you heard, make sure that you follow the show over on SoundCloud. It's not on SoundCloud anymore. It's on Anchor, iTunes, and Spotify. Give us those cheeky 5-star ratings. They surely help us out. And also catch the video over on DashGamer.com and on YouTube. Subscribe, hit that bell, give us a like, leave us a comment. Surely helps us out. We'll be back in another 2 weeks. But until then, this operation is complete.
DashGamer.com